Hey everyone, John Feldman, real estate agent in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley area of Virginia, and welcome back to my YouTube channel and to my video series, Advice from the Ball-Headed Agent. As you can see, I am in a different location than last time. I am in my office with the worst overhead lighting you have ever seen. It makes me look god awful. But I'm not here to win a beauty pageant. I am here to teach you real estate and to teach you what to do when you first encounter a real estate agent in the wild. Believe me, it's crazy. We're crazy. We drink a lot, but we're awesome and we're here to help you. So, when you're thinking about buying a home and you don't know what to do, watch my videos and learn a little something, I hope. Now, the first video was about the loan process. I hope you did watch it because it had a nice little chunks of information in there. This next video, we're just going to jump right into it because the topic is big in our industry right now, and that is buyer agency, and that is the buyer agency agreement. You may have already experienced this, or may have heard people talk about this. When you go to meet an agent for the first time, whether you call one on the phone and say, "Hey, John, I want to go look at this home I saw on Zillow or on Realtor.com, or I saw a sign in the yard. I'd like to go see this property. Can you do it today?" I'm going to say, "Sure, I can do it today. But first, let's meet in my office for 5 or 10 minutes because I need to go over the buyer agency agreement with you and buyer agency and get you to sign the buyer agency agreement before I'm allowed to show you any homes." Yes, before I am allowed to show you any homes. There was a big lawsuit recently that has changed the game of realtors and what we are supposed to do. Technically, we were supposed to be doing this all along. I've been doing real estate for over 20 years, and agents were supposed to be sitting down with all clients before they showed a single home to say, "Hey, let's go over this buyer agency agreement." You want to know why? Because it goes over everything up front. It gives full transparency to you as a client so that you understand everything from the beginning. It's not something we're throwing at you as you're about to write the contract. "Oh, by the way, did you know this? Oh, by the way, here's this charge you didn't know about." No, right up front, we're giving you all this information so that you can go, "Oh, okay, this makes sense. I like this." Now, let's begin with the actual agreement itself. I'm not going to go through it paragraph by paragraph, line by line. I'm going to give you like the Cliff Notes version. The beginning of it really is what you want to learn mainly about the buyer agency agreement. The big part is the commission, but why you want to have a buyer agency agreement in place is to let you know that you have an agent and a company working for you to help you find a home from the beginning, right when you start looking at properties, to the moment you sit down to write a contract, from contract to the closing table when you get those keys. You have to have an agent and a company representing you that's on your side, doing all negotiations, helping you with the appraisal, helping you with every little step of the way. That's why you have a buyer agency agreement in place so that you hire an agent to do all of that for you. Now, what you need to do as a buyer is just to only work with that agent and that company that you sign the agreement with. Don't go signing multiple agent agreements with multiple agents. Don't sign an agency agreement with an agent and then go, "Oh, my brother's a real estate agent and he showed me a couple of properties too, and I didn't tell my first agent." Don't do stuff like that. If you sign a buyer agency agreement with a realtor, work with that realtor. Now, hopefully they're the type of realtor like me, is I only do buyer agency agreements for 1 week to start. I don't do 3 months. I don't do a month. I like to build a little rapport with somebody that I just meet. If they like me and they want to continue using me, we'll extend the time frame of that buyer agency agreement. But if you ever say, "I don't like that John Feldman, he ain't a good agent," I'm not going to take offense to that. I'm going to let you out of the buyer agency agreement, or after it has expired, I'm going to let you go on to another agent, and I'm not going to feel bad, and you shouldn't feel bad because that's business. That's any business. That is your right to work with who you want to work with, who you feel more comfortable working with. Now, the next part really is saying what the purpose is. I am only licensed in Virginia, so I can only help you purchase properties in the state of Virginia. They usually will have the full contact information on it, your contact information, our office's contact information. The time frame is usually next. As I said, I usually only like to do a week. You will have agents out there that will try to do 3 months. Now, I'm here to tell you the process of buying a home from the moment you start to look at homes with an agent, trying to find a home, writing a contract. You may lose out on your first contract. Getting something under contract, going through the whole process to closing, that could take 3 months. That's why some agents do a 3 month buyer agency agreement right from the beginning. I, again, don't like to do that. I like to make sure you enjoy working with me. Now, the duties that I have to perform under the buyer agency agreement is I have to anything you tell me, whether it's personal, whether it's financial, whether your brother just ran off with your mother's cousin, whatever it is, I keep that in strict confidentiality and I don't share it with anyone. And I also, any material facts of the properties that we're showing, I try to get that to you as best that I can, that anything that I'm aware of. Now, what you need to do, oh, and also, I can work with other clients while I'm working with you. I can show the same home that I'm showing you to other clients. What you need to do as a buyer is to work exclusively with me and my company while you are under the buyer agent agreement time frame. Just make sure you give all information correctly. You don't lie to your agent. If I need copies of something, you provide those quickly because real estate works quickly and there are a lot of documents to provide, unfortunately. Now, here comes the big part. Here comes the compensation. How, who gets paid, who's paying who, and how that all works. Now, I got to be careful how I say this. Back in the good old days, a seller usually would pay everybody's commission. They would pay a listing agent's commission and they would pay a buyer's agent commission, whatever that commission was. That's kind of what the standard was. It's what most people expected. You would see sometimes that wouldn't happen, but it's just kind of what's was expected in the real estate world. Now the seller has the option. If they do not want to pay a buyer's agent commission, they don't have to. They can only pay their selling agent commission, and that is it. But if you have a good listing agent, such as myself, I will explain to the seller. It can be a big detriment to you if you saddle a buyer's agent commission onto the buyer, because a buyer not only has to pay all of their own closing costs, they have to pay their down payment if there is one, all of their inspections, the appraisal. That adds up. And then if you tack on a buyer's agent commission, which could be anywhere from 2 to 3% of the final sales price, that can wipe out a lot of buyers. That buyer is dead in the water. They all of a sudden they can't afford to look at your house. They can't afford to dream of your home. They can't afford to write a contract on your home. And guess what, Mr. Seller? That's one less person that could be the person that sells that. I'm losing my mind. That buys your home. It could also limit a lot of buyers. You could have a listing that sits on the market longer than it should be because you've knocked out 3/4 of the people who could be coming to your home. So hopefully a good listing agent is going to explain that to a seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, can you be open to paying a buyer's agent commission? Or maybe partial commission. If you're not going to agree to pay full, whatever it is, 2.5%, 3%, would you agree to 2%? Whatever it is. But also know this. Commissions are fully negotiable. They are not set in stone. Buyer's agent commission, you can ask for that in the contract. I always do. It can be negotiated while you're negotiating the contract. It can even be negotiated after the contract is ratified. So just know sellers have the right to not pay buyer's agents commissions now. If that happens, yes, you as a buyer might have to pay a buyer's agent commission. But I always ask for my commission to be paid by the seller in the contract. And I usually like to ask the listing agent, hey, is the seller going to pay a commission before I write the contract? Because know this, it is now illegal for the commission to be advertised and to be displayed in the MLS system. MLS is the multiple listing service that us agents have access to, that we can see properties. It used to be where the commission was shown. It is now illegal. It cannot be shown. So we now have to call the agents and say, hey, what's the deal here? Just so that is the big part of the buyer agency agreement. That is why agents want you to know this information up front, because that is a big chunk of information to know. Mr. Buyer, you may have to pay your buyer's agent commission. That could be up to $10,000 or more, depending on the sales price. That's some really good information to know up front. There's also a charge in the buyer agent commission called admin fee. It is a one-time fee charged to a buyer or a seller at closing, and it's literally to do the paperwork. Believe me, there are plenty of companies out there that charge outrageous admin fees, $400 or more. Our company, Coldwell Banker Premier, charges $195 to all of our clients. Yeah. So that's another thing that you probably would like to know up front, that you're being charged a fee. And man, it kind of looked like my glasses were fogging up. So that's the biggest part of the buyer agent commission. That right there, what I just told you, the number one reason why we have to do that. There are other things in the buyer agency agreement, whether you're charged a retainer fee, whether you're part of a relocation program or not. The other big thing besides the commission are the two types of representation that are covered. The first one is designated representation. That means you as a buyer would like to look at properties that are listed by my company, Coldwell Banker Premier. Now, if that happens, there will always be an agent representing the seller and an agent representing the buyer, you, the buyer. If the other type of agency that's covered is called dual agency. Now, dual agency is a tricky beast for an agent to try to tackle. Some do, I do not. And it works like this. You have one agent working for both the seller and the buyer in the exact same transaction. Remember what I said before about we hold anything that you tell me in strict confidentiality. I don't know how you can do that if you're representing both sides of the transaction. Part of the contract process is doing a home inspection if you do one. That might find repairs needed. You as a buyer ask a seller to fix those repairs. It's kind of hard for one agent to negotiate both sides of repairs and the appraisal. So again, I don't like to do it. I don't think it's fair to clients to do it. I like to have one client representing each side of the transaction. And let's see, there's also something about fair housing. I, as a realtor, I am hoping all realtors follow fair housing. We and I do not discriminate for any reason whatsoever. We treat all people equally, just like we want to be treated equally. There's a scary part at the end. It's basically about default and attorney fees, and it is simply don't default on a contract. When you write a contract, yes, you are able to walk away from that contract in certain time frames. There's only 2 or 3, and you can get out legally and you can get your earnest money deposit back. But there are plenty of times that you can walk away from the contract when you are not allowed to, and you can be in default. And the non-defaulting party might take you to court for more things than the earnest money deposit. Not going to say that could happen, but it could. And guess what? If attorneys are involved, you may have to pay those attorney fees. If realtors are involved of a non-breaching party, you might have to pay their attorneys as well. So the key of those 2 scary paragraphs is do not default on a contract when you're not allowed to. It is very simple. There also are some definitions in the buyer agency agreement, some disclaimers. There's Megan's Law if you want to know where sexual offenders are located. There is a wonderful website you can go to, and they'll tell you everything you want to know. That's pretty much the buyer agency agreement. It again is simply just so that you know the information up front. Don't be scared or don't be upset if an agent says to you, I'm sorry, I can't show you any homes until we sit down and go over this and I have you sign it. We're not trying to steal your information. We're not trying to be rude. We just have to do it. It's something that will help you and will also help us because it'll it'll bring us together a little bit in the beginning. We'll get a little sense of each other, and that is a big part of real estate and dealing with customers is making them feel good, making them feel comfortable, making them feel like you are on their side. That is the number one thing that I do for all of my clients. Now, I am having a hard time looking at myself in these horrible overhead lights, so I think I'm going to end this video. It was a pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I don't know what the topic will be. I'm sure it will be ridiculous. Just the way I want it to be.